Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. Welcome back to another episode of Topper Talk Podcast. As always, thank you for downloading and listening to another episode. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Topper_Talk, and follow us on YouTube at Topper Talk Podcast. As usual, I've got my man Tyler here with me, man. We're going to recap a heartbreaking loss to Troy and then preview this game coming up versus MTSU and the 100 Miles of Hate. Tyler, you ready to dig in?
Man, I sure am. I'm ready to get into this and talk about the 100 Miles of Hate, man.
But before we do that, let's talk about our sponsor of the podcast, and that is the Fireman Moving Company. This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you are looking to move anytime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. I will say it time and time again, the best call, the best money you will ever spend. If you are moving, call them. I promise you, you will not regret it. Those guys are pros at what they do. They will get you packed up and moved from point A to point B way faster with way less hassle and back pain than what I would deal with when I was moving. So give them a call, worth your money. I promise you, guarantee it. Before we jump into the main segment of the episode, we're going to jump into the Red Towel wrap up and talk about all the sports that we missed in the last week since our last episode. So Tyler, hit us with that Red Towel wrap up. What did we miss since last week?
Well, on 9/22, the volleyball team, they played UTEP and beat them 3-1. The ladies golf team, they took part in the Lady Palatine Invitational. The team finished third. Katie Craig, she finished second. Sarah Arnold and Avery Klein, they both tied for 13. Volleyball, they played UTEP again on the 23rd, and they swept them 3-0. And then soccer, they played at Jacksonville State University, and they tied 1-1. That's it for this week on the Red Towel wrap-up. Moff, back to you.
Yeah, man, that volleyball weekend was kind of crazy because the first game, I didn't get to go to it. I was at work. But the first game, one of the UTEP players got hurt and had to be carried off the court, from my understanding. It looked pretty serious. We went on to win the game, and then I got to attend the Saturday game, the noon game, as the football game was kicking off and getting towards halftime. I was at Dental for the volleyball game, watching football on my phone, watching volleyball in real life. But we went ahead and swept them and got home and finished up the football game that we will soon be talking about. So, and really excited about the golf team. I mean, Katie Craig is, at this point, she's just a machine. I mean, we talked about last year her winning the individual Conference USA championship and then the U.S. Amateur showing over the summer. Had a win a couple weeks ago and now second at this invitational. So she's just one of those players and those competitors that no matter who she's playing or where she's at, she's going to be in contention for the lead. So really happy to see that in our golf team, the ladies golf team competing at a high level. But we've got to talk about this Troy game. Obviously, our football team went down to Troy, Alabama, ended up losing 27-24. They've now dropped to 2-2 on the season, and we've got a real quick turnaround coming this Thursday at home versus MTSU for the 100 Miles of Hate. I think both of us knew that this game, versus Troy was going to be a dogfight. It was going to be one of our closest games of the season. I think both of our score predictions kind of pointed to that possibility and that likelihood, that it may come down to a final possession or a turnover. But at the end of the day, it ended up being the Troy running game that we both talked about and highlighted. We've got to be able to control it and stop it. That Troy running game was able to keep them on the field, keep us off the field, as they really dominated the time of possession in this game, and were able to milk the clock away and ultimately win this game. Now, offensively, WKU was led by Austin Reed, who finished the game 24 out of 40 with 275 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But in my opinion, just watching and then going back and watching the game, he kind of got away with several balls that could have been intercepted, kind of balls that were iffy, just in the air, got tipped around, and, ultimately hit the turf. So he had no interceptions, but he just looked a little bit out of sync with the wide receivers. And I think that's kind of been a multi-week thing going now. And I think some of that comes to the injuries and the depth that we're seeing being played with the wide receiver core. But then the Troy defensive line was also getting a really good push against our offensive line. I think he was feeling a little bit more pressure this game, having to move off his spot and move to make throws. And that obviously also affected our running game. For the game, we had 13 rushing attempts for 13 total yards. So not really a lot to talk about there. Kind of made us a one-dimensional team. You kind of knew we were going to drop back and pass. And 9 times out of 10, when Reed drops back to pass, you know who he's looking at. He's looking for sticks. He's looking for 11. And they were able to really have good coverage on Malachi. He did have a good game. He led our team, the wide receivers, with 9 catches for 107 yards, 1 touchdown, with a long of 31 yards. And then Easton Messer also had a good game with 6 catches for 96 yards, and he also had a touchdown with a long of 35 yards. So, Tyler, I mean, that was really just an aerial view of the offense and the performance that we had. But I guess what was your perspective of this WKU offense against this Troy defense that we knew coming in was going to be tough? And they kept us off the field more than anything. But how was our offense against Troy?
Well, our offense, I'm going to break it down into wide receiver, running backs. Actually, I should say that the running backs didn't even show up. I hate to say that. I hate to be tough on players, that go out there and they sacrifice, and I know they got to try. But you take away Reed's, of course, he lost 11 yards, and Corley's 6 rushing attempts. And we had 9 carries for 18 yards between Katie Hutchinson, LT Sanders, and Davion Irvin Poindexter. Poindexter, he had 1 carry for 1 yard. Katie Hutchinson had 1 carry for 3 yards, and LT Sanders, he carried the ball 2 times for 5 yards. And I know there's got to be some other people I'm seeing. I'm just not finding them, but no, Elijah Young, yes, he carried the ball the most, 5 carries for 9 yards. I was kind of surprised by Irvin Poindexter not getting the start. We've seen Elijah Young some in some plays this year, but I mean that's in Step. I don't know what happened, but he didn't play. I'm not sure if he was on the sidelines or if he didn't even make the trip. But I hope he's back in time for MTSU. I hope everything's all right with him. But dang, I mean, 18 yards on 9 carries. Now, granted, we were playing behind some of the game, and that tends to lend to that. But wide receivers, I'm gonna say Messer impressed me every time he's out there on the field. He seems like he's a very reliable receiver whenever Reed looks at him, and I hope Reed keeps giving him chances because I mean Messer's turning it and could be a really good wide receiver as the time goes on. River Helms, he had 1 catch for 8 yards. Craig Burt, he had 2 catches for 13 yards. Aaron Key had 2 catches for 12 yards. I mean, and this is the second game in a row where I know during the Ohio State game, it was a 4th down when Reed had to throw to Corley, and he threw into triple coverage. Reed also threw to Corley this past Saturday, and he was triple covered again. I know he was probably having to scramble, but I mean, I feel like that could be just a bad choice. No, it is a bad choice. There's got to be someone else open, but I know that's one of his favorite and most reliable targets. So Can't be mad. Can't be too mad at him for that. Irvin Poindexter, LT Sanders, and KD Hutchinson also reeled in one catch for 6, 5, and 4 yards, respectively. I wish they could utilize Helms a little bit more. I mean, we are historically been tight end U, and he's a big, reliable body who can catch balls, and he can also get the yardage that we need. You know, use him short distances or close if we need a touchdown. I feel like he is a good target that Reed could pass to, and I know on the what was it on the TV? I went back and rewatched it. They asked Hollinshead, and he said when he was down there under Leach, they didn't even recruit tight ends that could catch the ball because they didn't need it. Because air raid. I just wish our offense could have did a little bit better. We did the yardage was like 280 something to 520. I mean, that's staggering. But if you look, and we'll talk about it later in the stats, the time of possession, that's huge. Huge that our offense was not on the field for as long as it should be. I mean, I'm just not happy with the way this offense played this game.
Yeah, I mean, you highlighted the running woes, lack of running ability, and really, that just made us. It really made us one dimensional, and made us where we were playing behind the sticks. We were in several third and long situations, and when we were in those situations, we drop back to pass, and they're bracket coveraging, double, triple covering Malachi Corley. They kind of knew where that ball was going. We weren't using him as a decoy. We've talked about several injuries that we've had. Matheson's still out. Dalvin didn't play. Blue Smith didn't travel to this game. So, we're deep down to depth chart when, Musa Berry, Katie Hutchinson, Easton Messer, these guys are getting a lot of targets. That's good, great, and grand for the big picture. But when we're trying to win games, we need some of those reliable targets that will, one, be reliable for Austin, but two, also open things up for Malachi. Having those other guys on the field across the middle, Dalvin out wide, Blue out wide. And then I also agree with you that we need to utilize River Helms more. He was our boy coming into the game. Did have a catch. He was down near the goal line too. I thought he might have had a chance to get into the end zone, but he didn't get there. We didn't look at him again, so that's okay. But I think as we progress through this season in his career, he's going to get a lot more opportunities, a lot more targets. But yeah, not a great showing offensively, and you did touch on the time of possession, especially that total yards, and then when you start breaking it down, but with the possession time, yeah, really eye-opening number. And Troy really had a game plan. They stuck to it, they executed, and they came out with a win, by tooth and nail. But by 1 or by 100, a W is a W. Now defensively, WKU was led by Deontay McCray. He had 9 tackles, including 2 sacks. Upton Stout and Jaden Loving also had 7 tackles. Nico Cooper, Kendrick Simpkins, and Terrion Thompson also had sacks in the game. And to me, we talked about the time of possession. It was almost 2-1 time of possession. And what it looked like, just as a fan, just viewing, that the defense was really wearing down as the game went on, especially when we got to that fourth quarter. We scored and gave ourself a chance. We had to give the ball back to Troy, obviously, but there was a few minutes left in the game, and it just, it really became a can we get off the field situation. Can we stop their run? Because we knew they were going to run, even though they came out passing on first down for some reason. I'm not sure why. They came out passing, but then they handed the ball off to Kamani Vidal, and he just had big carry after big carry after big carry, extended the drive, kept the clock moving, and ultimately, ran this game out, and just, kept the drive alive and kept us off the field. That's kind of what they did the entire game. And I just really saw a lot of, I mean, I don't want to call it arm tackling, but just a lot of missed tackles, just was really evident in this game. We had several opportunities to tackle and stop, Troy behind the line of scrimmage or short. But we just couldn't wrap up the tackle. Just a lot of missed tackles and big opportunities that really would have changed the flow of this game, but we just weren't able to get it done. So, not a super impressive effort, not a great defensive game versus Troy. But Tyler, what are your thoughts on the defensive side of the ball for WKU?
Well, and you touched on the 5 sacks, and we did force 3 turnovers, and that will come up later when we talk about the key indicators. 5 sacks is pretty good, and going back to the time of possession, them boys you're talking about, they had to be wore out in the fourth quarter. They had to be. I mean, they were on the field way too long. The defense. I think they had, where is it? We had 72 total tackles, 44 solo, 5 sacks, and 7 tackles for loss. Of course, you mentioned Nico Cooper and Evans, Kendrick Simpkins. The missed tackles, yeah, a bunch of them kind of went up. They tried to go up high when you got to hit them right in the center of the chest, or go low at them, take them down. Missed tackles was bad. Vidal and all them getting yards after contact, that's not good. And then, you see that Hail Mary throw at the end of the second quarter, where Stout was on Livingston, I believe that's his name, 6'5" versus 5'9". I mean, shit. That's I was listening to it on the radio, and right when Randy announced that, I was like, oh crap, that's a kicker right in the nards. But no, defense, I mean, they seemed like they did all right for as long as they was out there. They had a lot of sustained drives that they had to try to defend against. They really didn't get no breaks, really didn't get much rest time to try to recharge them batteries while we were on the field, because I think I seen one on ESPN, one drive of ours lasted less than a minute, like maybe around 30 seconds before we had to punt the ball away. So yeah, the defense didn't get a lot of time to recuperate during the game. So I'm not happy with it, but at the same time, they did kind of keep us in that game, because if they just didn't show up, we would have been in huge trouble.
Yeah, then we'll touch on the special teams real quick. Our guy, Lucas Canero, was 1 out of 1 on field goals, 3 out of 3 on extra points. So Mr. Automatic, still automatic. Tom Ellard had 5 punts for 189 total yards, a 37.8-yard average, with 2 inside the 20 and a long of 44. So Tom, back to bringing that boot out, had a pretty good game. 5 punts. We'd rather not have him out there 5 times. We want to score 5 more times. But had a pretty good showing. Now let's touch on the key indicators of the game before we jump into some grades. And this is not going to be a pretty set of key indicators. Total yards, Troy outgained WKU 521 yards to 288 yards. So nearly double what we put out. So that's obviously not good for WKU. Troy was 9 out of 18 on third down, so 50% on third downs, and 2 out of 2 on fourth downs, while WKU was 2 out of 10 on third downs, 20%, and 1 out of 2 on fourth downs. WKU had 2 turnovers. Troy had 3. We got 1 there. And then time of possession, Troy had the ball for 38 minutes and 59 seconds, while WKU had the ball for 21 minutes and 1 second. So almost a 2-to-1 time ratio there. And that kind of paints the picture of the entire game. What their game plan was control the clock, shorten the game, control the possessions, keep the ball out of our hands. And they were able to produce a lot of yards and just enough points to win. And ultimately that Hail Mary play at the end of the second quarter that you mentioned, kind of end up being, the difference in the game. If we clean that up and go into halftime without them scoring there, they get the ball back. They ended up punting back to us before anybody scored there in the second half. essentially that's the difference in the game. It's kind of crazy. Um, but who knows how the game would have flowed differently with a different score. But Troy basically had a clean sweep. They were -1 in turnovers, but otherwise they had a clean sweep there in the indicator. So it's not really a surprise that they were able to pull out this win. We knew it was going to be a tough game. I think we both had it within a field goal. Obviously with the WKU tops winning, but let's jump into some grades. Talk about this game, flush it out of our system, get out of conference play, and move on to the conference slate coming up real soon. So, Tyler, what's your grade for the offense versus Troy?
Well, the offense has got to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Now, I know that's kind of hard when we only got one true playmaker, air quotes, on the field. And we got to get points on the board. We knew coming into this game, like you said earlier, that the Troy defense was going to test us, and we were able to get 24 points, and we were tested. I'll give the offense a C.
Yeah, I'm going the same. It was an average production. When you start to consider the amount of time they were on the field, not really a bad effort. Obviously we need to sustain some more drives. The 2 out of 10 on third downs really knocks them down a level for me. Obviously if you want to be closer to 50% on third downs, that's what Troy was. We want to sustain drives and get down the field and put ourselves in position to score points, whether it be field goals, touchdowns, whatever. We said coming into this game that points were going to be at a premium, and that's what it turned out to be. You lose by that much, so the offense getting to see, I think that's very fair. I think I guess the lack of offense and the out of sync read that we kind of saw, I think a lot of that boils down to the injuries and the wide receiver depth that we're having to use. And I think as we move forward in conference play and hopefully some guys start to get healthy, start to come back, some familiar names and faces, I think we're going to see the offense clean itself up. I don't think we've seen anywhere near what this offense can be this year and where it will be by the end of the year. So we hope we're right. We hope it gets better. Obviously, go ahead.
Yeah, we was talking about the offense. Reed, for the day, he was 24 of 40 on passing, which is never good. And at halftime, was a Western offense was only held to 70 total yards, and then at the 9-minute 42 second mark of the third quarter, we had only ran 28 offensive plays to 52 of Troy's plays. So that I just wanted to bring that up before we jump into defense, but that is absolutely terrifying and astonishing.
Yeah, it was a not typical day for the WKU offense. We just weren't able to sustain anything. The run defense was tested and didn't hold up very well, which is the next grade. So the defensively, what have you got for the tops?
All right, so defense, like I said, they were lacking in the run defense. They held Troy 27 points, but they did give up 521 yards. Granted, 40 of those yards were on the Hail Mary that we alluded to at the end of the first half. But it still happened, and they were on the field for 39 minutes. Never got much rest, like I said earlier. I'll give them a B- or a B. The missed tackles, I feel like that could be lower, but I feel sorry for them for being on the field that long, so I'm going to give them a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C minus minus. I'm trying not to give them a D because those turnovers were nice. It's nice to have a defense that's making turnovers, but if you don't want to be on the field for 38 minutes, you got to get off the field. And when you give up 9 out of 18 third down conversions and 2 out of 2 fourth down conversions, so basically you gave up 11 out of 18 opportunities there. Troy was able to sustain drives. They were able to keep themselves ahead of schedule, short third down situations. Wide receiver Chris Lewis, that the big guy that caught that Hail Mary touchdown, had a couple big catches. Just he was a big guy, and Stout had a tough game trying to cover him. But we've got to do better. The missed tackling was a big opportunity. I know it's not anything that they need us to tell them. I know they're watching the same game tape, and the coaches are giving them the same feedback that, cleaning up the tackling, and when you got somebody in your sights and you can get your hands on them, you need to get them to the turf. Get that play over with, get off the field, and let your offense go out there and have the ball and put some points on the board. So I'm going with C minus minus. I just made up that score. I'm not giving them a D. I can't do it because it was decent for being on the field for 40 minutes, but didn't win the ball game, but kept us in the game for sure. What about your score for special teams, Tyler?
All right, so special teams, Ellard, he did what he does. Canario, 100%. The only blemish I can see on there was Katie Hutchinson with that muff punt that gave Troy excellent field positioning. I'm trying not to put that into my grade, so I'm focusing on the positives. I'll give them an A because Ellard and Canario came out and they did what special teams supposed to do.
You're right. It's an A. Canaro, still automatic, still perfect on the season. Bowl prediction intact. Ellard, family in attendance. Parents are there. He was a captain for the game. So, he did his thing, had a good game. So special teams gets an A. That's all I know. What about coaching? What do you got for those?
Coaches, whoever is in charge of making sure there's 11 players on the field, I want his job. I want him demoted. I want him fired. I want him gone. Because them penalties, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and them penalties hurt our drives. They came into the most unopportune moments. I mean, that's inexcusable. Whoever's in charge of that. Like I said, we had 70 yards at halftime. The coaches, they made adjustments for us to get 288. Still not good. I don't see the playbook is still looking like it's closed for an air raid offense. I'm gonna give them a C minus. I mean it C minus. I'm just not happy with it.
I'm giving them a D. Sorry. We knew who Troy was coming into this game. This wasn't a surprise. We knew they were going to run the ball. We knew they were going to be aggressive running the ball. We allowed them to do that. And then you add the 3 substitution penalties on top of that, which are just literally shooting yourself in the foot. You can't beat yourselves and go and try to beat a good opponent. And Troy's a good opponent. I don't care if they're 1-2 coming into the game. I don't care. They're a good team. They're going to be near the top of the Sun Belt, just like they were last year. Defensively, they're tough. And we just came in and didn't play good, clean, sound execution football. So a D. Now, that's the best I can give them. Not a C minus. They're getting a D. I rounded them down. So we're going to move on past it. It's time to flush this game away. We finished out of conference play at 2-2, 500. Preseason, if you're looking at it, you might have said maybe 3-1. That Ohio State game was kind of a penciled in as a loss for most of us. The Troy game was a kind of a coin flip. So coming out 2-2 in the big picture of things is not the worst thing in the world. I think we all could have seen this being a possibility. But it is what it is. Conference play is now upon us. Out of conference is over. The real season's starting now. So on the other side of this break, we're going to preview the 100 Miles of Hate game versus MTSU coming right up. All right, and WKU enters this week going against MTSU. They are 2-2. MTSU comes in at 1-3. They just lost to Colorado State after having beaten Murray State. This game, the 100 Miles of Hate rivalry, is going to be at 6:30 p.m. this Thursday, 9/28 on the CBS Sports Network. This game will be the 73rd all-time meeting in the 100 Miles of Hate rivalry, dating back to 1914. WKU took the overall series lead last year and has won 36 times to MTSU's 35 victories, and there was 1 tie in the series. WKU has also won 7 of the last 8 matchups. with MTSU's last victory coming in 2018. Woof, Sanford years. The ESPN Power Index really likes WKU with a nice 69.3% chance to win compared to only 30.7 for MTSU. And WKU is currently favored by 5.5 points with an over-under of 60.5 points for this game. So, Tyler, before we jump into the specifics of this game, how does it look on paper heading into the 100 Miles of Hate this Thursday?
Well, I hate to give MTSU credit, and I won't do it. I'm not going to do it.
Don't.
I can't.
Welcome.
I think piss on them. I mean, if you look at it, both quarterbacks, and this is both quarterbacks have completed the same amount of passes, 101. Reed has 1,071 yards with 9 TDs and 1 interception, while the Blue Losers QB has thrown for 916 yards, 7 TDs, and 2 interceptions. I mean, the mouth breathers, they average 358.5 total yards per game. And we average looking forward.
367.
At 367.5. I mean, that's not that big of a difference. I think I think we look better on paper than they do. I think we always will. But no, I think this could be. I mean, if you look at the recent games, most of them ain't by big blowouts, other than 2021 where we had the 5 interceptions on there. Now, current QB. I'm hoping for a repeat of that performance. But no, I think it's throw out all the record books, all the notes, everything. It's a rivalry week. Anything could happen. This Thursday, I wish it was on Saturday, but I think this is going to be a good game, man.
Yeah, let's talk about MTSU. Offensively, they're led by quarterback Nicholas Pateo. He's a 6'1", 196-pound sophomore. Like you said, he's completed 101 passes out of 143 attempts on the year for 916 yards with 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Their leading running back is Jaden Creedle. He's a 6'1", 193-pound sophomore. He has 30 carries for 188 yards and 1 touchdown. And their leading wide receiver is Elijah Metcalf. He's a 5'9", 164-pound sophomore. He has 22 catches for 192 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. Now, offensively, they're averaging 358 yards per game. Broken down, that's 230 yards passing and 128 yards rushing. Defensively, they're allowing 381 yards per game. That's 242 yards passing and 139 yards rushing. Meanwhile, WKU is averaging 367 yards per game, and we're allowing 498 yards per game. So, Tyler, defensively, what's this game look like for you? Kind of looking at those snapshot picture, what the stats are looking like. What's this look like for you?
Shut down the run. In 4 of their games, they have rushed for less than 100 yards, and one of them games, or both of them, was against SEC opponents. You had Alabama and Mizzou. In 2 games, they rushed for 100, over 100. They had versus Murray State. They had 217 rushing yards and 151 versus Colorado State. Now, they lost Colorado. They beat Murray. So our D line and linebackers need to nut up, need to get there, plug them holes, stop them, or it could be another long day for them. I think our defensive backs are going to be fine. I mean, I think that's my main fear is their running back getting loose and running all over the field like so many have done before them.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this game will be won on either us establishing the run or shutting down their run. We've got to prove at some point that we can stop the run against somebody. We didn't do a terrible job of that versus Troy. We had limited their run early, but as the game progressed, and the defense got wore down and those drives became more meaningful as that clock was working against us, they were able to sustain those drives. So, that's going to be a big factor for me in this game. And that kind of segues us right into our 3 keys to victory. Let's trade those off. What's your first key to victory against MTSU?
Be a beast of different faces. We have to be more than one dimensional. We haven't. Our run game just really ain't been there. And everyone knows we can pass the ball. That is obvious. We need to be able to have people think of our run game as a threat, not just a passing thought. So that's my key to victory is be more than one dimensional.
Yeah, mine's nearly the same. I said establish the run. We don't have to lean on the run. We don't have to be run heavy, but there has to be a threat of a run. If they can just put 3 in the box and drop 8 every time, kind of bracket those receivers out there, that really is going to make life hard for whatever receivers are out there, whoever's healthy, whoever's suiting up and playing, Malachi Easton, Dalvin, whoever is playing against MTSU. It's going to be tough when you've got that much space, that many bodies out there. So we have to establish the run. Our offensive line has to block and create some holes and allow those running backs to, be able to get some positive yardage and turn things around in the run game. We saw our first couple of games of the year. We had decent, running performances. Now the last 2 games has kind of gone the other way. So we need to reestablish that as a strength, and at least a threat of, we can hand the ball off and somebody can get positive yards. What's your second key to victory?
Mine's going to be sustain our drives. And it's a short week. Our defensive players is on the field for pretty much 40 minutes or 39 minutes. They going to need rest, and I'd rather them rest on the sidelines while our offense was out there. It's all right to play up tempo and be able to get the fast points, but sometimes you got to slow it down and just take it easy and just chew up some clock.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. One of my keys was also maintain drives. I mean, we've got to do better than 2 out of 10 on third down, like we were last game. We've got to be closer to 50%. We've got to sustain drives, keep them going, get yards, get points. Like you said, rivalry games, throw the records out, throw whatever has happened this season out, throw everything out. It's going to be a dogfight. They're going to want to come in here and upset us, and we don't like them. We're going to send them home with a big loss. I'm going to go up there and conduct their band and take it over and send them home unhappy. But we have to do that by maintaining drives, scoring every point that we can. That's my second key. So, Tyler, what's your third?
Plug the holes. I mentioned it earlier. We definitely got to stop the run. Like I said, defensive line linebackers need to get up there and stop their running backs from turning the corner or just shooting the A gap, B gap. We got to stop that. We're going to need to shut it down. So that's my key.
Yeah, mine have win turnovers. That's when we've won the turnover battle decisively. That has led to nice victories for us. When it's been closer, Ohio State, obviously, blowout loss. We were +1 versus Troy, and that wasn't enough. Untimely turnover there before half, then a Hail Mary. So, we've got to clean up the turnovers, the fumbles. Hopefully not be throwing any interceptions. We just need to keep the ball in our offensive hand and give ourselves the opportunity to score. It's a part of maintaining drives. You're not maintaining drives if you're turning the ball over. You got to establish the run, maintain drives, and not turn the ball over. You've got to value every possession with points, or at least field position. Don't let them flip the field. Put them deep down into their side of the field, where if you get the ball back, it's going to be near midfield, not near your 20. So definitely win the turnover battle. And did you say you got a fourth key? You got a fourth? A +1, a bonus?
Yeah, I was just in case ours was too close, but come out angry, play angry. I'm sure these players, that loss to Troy is not sitting good in their mouth, and the week before that, getting curb stomped by Ohio State. I'm sure they're going to want to prove themselves and prove that they can win. They need to come out, and I want them to take someone's head off. No mercy. It's a rivalry game. I want a gladiator show out there. That's what I want personally. So yeah, that's my fourth.
Are you not entertained?
I will be if we win.
So coming into this game against MTSU, rivalry, 100 miles of hate, always a battle. Who is your MVP, your most valuable topper? Who's got to show up and lead us to victory?
All right, so the last few weeks I've went with Austin Reed. I'm swapping it up, flipping it a little bit. I thought about this. I was thinking about maybe going defensive player. Then I was like, I'm sure defense will show up. I'm going Marquis Step. I'm hoping he plays this Saturday, and I just want him just to run the ball right down MTSU's throat. I want him to truck people. I want him to stiff arm into the dirt. I mentioned it earlier in the I think the position breakdowns that I want him to play like Derrick Henry back a few years ago. I want him to be aggressive. I want him to come out and just smack someone right in the face and say, "Try to stop me. You can't do it."
I'm torn. I think it needs to be somebody offensively. I think we need to step up and score more points, obviously, than we did against Troy. I think we need to maintain the drives, establish the run, score points, limit turnovers. I think all those things have to happen, and I think all those things are going to happen from the arm of Austin Reed. I'm going back to QB1. I think he's my guy. I think he needs to step up and show out in this game, and really just send those Blue Raider Smurfs back to MTSU heartbroken and beaten once again for the 8th time out of 9 games. So give me Austin Reed. Tyler, what about your score prediction for the 100 Miles of Hate?
All right, so earlier I've been thinking about this as well, based on some of the current games in this rivalry, and I know sometimes they get kind of close. I have them 49-21 tops win. That's what I had at the beginning of the season, and that's what I'm staying with. I'm going with the domination. 41-21 or 49-21 tops win.
Yeah, my margin of victory is not as big as yours, but it's still plenty decisive. I've got 41-24 WKU. I think we just, even if we start slow like we did last year when we played at Middle, we kind of started slow. They were ahead early. We ended up taking the lead, and then we pulled away and won by, I don't remember last year's score exactly, but it might have been a pretty similar margin. But I think at the end of the day, I think we're a much better team and better program than we are. I mean, if you follow any MTSU accounts on Twitter, I mean, they're actively on Twitter talking about Fire Stockstill. Hey, keep them around, guys. We love them. 6-6 Rick, keep them around. That's an easy dub. I'm penciling that one in every single time we play y'all. W, because you're not going to beat us. 41-24, tops win, you win. We lit, baby. So rivalry week, it's upon us. It's early Tuesday morning now as we record. So short week turnaround. The Troy game was obviously a heartbreaker. We've got MTSU Thursday. Then we've got another midweek game next week, another Thursday night game. So we'll have a full week to rest and recover, even with the midweek game. So I'm excited for it. I know it's a little bit different scheduling wrinkle than what we're used to, but we will be on CBS Sports. Should be a lot of eyeballs watching us. Let's show up. Let's play Hilltopper ball. Let's see what this offense can do. We still haven't seen it fully clicking, put all together. Even we've scored 50, we've scored 40 this year. Beat a pretty good USF team. We still haven't put a full game together and shown what we can do. So I'm ready to see that happen this week. I don't know how many people are going to be healthy and playing, but it's a rivalry game. Put it all on the table. Let's blow these guys out, send them back home to Murfreesboro. Tyler, give us those final words and get us the heck out of here.
All right, so, and I looked up that final score from last year. It was 35-17, tops victory. well, I should say I'm disappointed in MTSU, but I mean, I can't. I didn't even know they had fans on Twitter. Honestly, I thought all of them jumped to UT or Memphis or something like that. But how can a school? I learned something whenever I was a young kid from watching The Godfather. Don't ever tell people what you're thinking. Now, when MTSU did this, we ain't jumping to another conference because we'd rather collect all the money. Just put a for sale sign up in your front yard of your quad and sell the school if you're that hard up for money. I know that it's going to cost some buying the flags for the new conference members, or maybe painting it on your football field and basketball court, softball field, soccer field, all that. But damn, I mean, I had no idea they were such broke bitches.
Poverty program.
Oh no, it's the Middle Tennessee Soup Kitchen University. That's what the S is now, Soup Kitchen. I bet they're going to take Greyhound buses up here. They're going to go past Bowling Green because we don't have a Greyhound stop no more. I don't know where they're going to get off at, but just keep going for all I care. I mean, that's pathetic. Mama told me never speak it. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it all. I'm sorry, Mama, but she never met no MTSU fans. I mean, let's be honest with it. I mean, that's the mouth breathers, man. I mean, that's embarrassing. If my school said, nah, we'd rather not, and I wouldn't. To me, I'm not in on the MAC. It's a lateral move, not a vertical move. But still, as they're saying, we're too poor to go somewhere else. We'd just rather collect that money. What are you going to do? Give it to Stockstill? I mean, that's what you're doing. I mean, it's pathetic. I'd be ashamed to wear an MTSU shirt. I don't even know if they got any gas money to get up here to Bowling Green, drive that 100 miles. With the cost of inflation, I'm done with them. Piss on them. But no, everyone does need to show up. Students, it's a Thursday game. If you're listening, what you can do is you can tailgate at the game, stay at the game, drink you some beverages, and then go out and party. It's the perfect way to spend a Thursday night because we all know you're probably not going to be studying. Whenever I was a student there, I didn't on the Thursdays, but it'll be good to see the Hilltoppers back at home to just curb stomp this MTSU team. Hopefully they can find some scraps up here, dumpster dive with some of the people around Bowling Green, find some food for themselves because I know they're probably just starving down there, relying on the good nature of the community members. I mean, how can a university say, nah, we don't want to do nothing better. We'd rather just, dang it, sell the university, you cheap bastards. Sorry if your kids are listening. I apologize. I just really hate MTSU. I'm surprised they ain't. What? How many people they have come down there to one of their games? 750, 1,000 tops. Maybe
11.
11.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I was down there in 2016, I mean, they had blue tarps over the upper sections. Just go ahead and just blue tarp it all.
Even better, they've taken that seating out now. It's not even there.
Are they? Did they really?
Yeah.
Man, why don't they just play at that's pretty much a high school football field. I mean, let's be honest about it. Sorry for rambling on about this, but they should be ashamed of themselves. No self-respecting player should want to go to MTSU, and they deserve to get beat by everybody. Most importantly, the tops. So with that, I'm getting off my soapbox. Moff, who has it better than us?
Nobody.
Fuck you, MTSU.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.
Later.